Hey everyone, welcome to the Beyond All Cloud series. Amit will be taking on the chapter 4 today, and we'll start with how did you start communicating the idea of shop type, the idea of Awake to people? What was the first reaction, or like, do you recall the first conversation you had with anybody about this?
Yeah, I think the first few conversations were so totally pie in the sky, right? Because
Yeah.
it was an idea with
Mm.
no. I think it's just people just thought it was too crazy, right? And even now they sometimes when
Mm.
they don't see the simplicity that's actually underneath what we've done, they feel
Mm.
it's way too many things and it's too complex. That's because most people see the world from their mental model,
Mm.
based on which they have, created their understanding of how things work. And the notion of complexity arises when there is no clarity about the simplicity. So, for example, if you're not a
Mm.
physicist, it's probably going to be, you know, um, complicated to see what is a physics textbook or something like that.
Yeah.
But to a
Yeah.
physics professor or somebody who's a physicist, those textbooks are very simple.
Yeah. That like
So
crystal clear.
So if you have clarity on something, it's not complex. It's only
Mm.
complex or it's only whatever if there is no
Mm.
clarity about it, or if there is
Mm.
some wrong ideas or some half ideas or some ideas about it.
Mm.
Clarity means
Mm.
no real ideas. Clarity. I mean, it's clear, right? So there's no ideas
Yeah.
about it. At that time,
Mm.
you're seeing the full, complete thing,
Mm. Mm.
as it is completely fleshed out and, all that. That's what
Mm.
you call vision because you've seen it and you've
Yeah.
understood it, and
Mm.
there is no
Mm.
confusion about it because it's very clear, the vision, you know.
Mm.
So if now the question is, how do you convey
Yeah,
clarity?
that's a thing. Mm.
Because clarity cannot be conveyed. Clarity is just there's nothing to convey. It's clear. It's very simple, you know.
Mm.
So when you try to convey clarity, it becomes complex, right? Because
Yeah.
every time
Yeah.
you try to
Mm.
convey it, it's
Mm.
using words that create all kinds of confusion in the other person's mind.
Mm.
Because now
Mm.
you're using concepts that are from the current situation in order
Mm.
to describe what is not yet there.
Yeah.
So those items and ideas will work to really confuse people a lot of times, unless they also can see beyond these words and understand the meaning
Mm.
and the
Mm.
possibility of what it might imply, and not really
Okay.
get
Mm.
bogged down by the current words and how they might, function together and stuff like that. In other words, you've got to be open-minded, or you've
Mm.
got to be looking past your own limited, you know, ideas about things. So if that is possible, then we can have a conversation, right? That was
Okay.
my
Mm.
initial, experience with this. Um,
Mm.
most people, because they're not technical, have no
Mm.
very little understanding, right? And
Yeah.
you know they have all kinds of so-called experience based on their limited understanding. So the problem with having lots of experience is the wrong kind of experience. If you have the
Yeah.
wrong kind of experience and you say I'm so
Mm.
experienced, that's the state of the world we've described as it is today.
Is
So
that
yeah.
like, is that still happening with we have substantial stuff now? I mean, like compared to the initial conversation that you used to have, which is more on vision and like words, and right now we have something as well to show. I mean, like to like sort of
Yeah, now it's a lot
in
easier, right? Like,
functionality.
yeah, now it's
Mm.
easier because we can literally show them shop type and they can see how it
Mm.
works. And most 99% of the people, when they see the actual thing, they get
Mm.
like totally blown away and very clear on what the heck's going on. But
Mm.
before you see it, even now, if you go and
Mm.
try to explain it in words to somebody, you know
Mm.
um,
Ah.
because what is it if I try to explain um, something that is common to everybody already, which has been overlooked. It's very difficult to comprehend that because it's the same everywhere already. So the internet is already the same everywhere. And if we are to go back to that basic internet and I say, hey, we're already connected and blah, 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 that doesn't mean anything to people because they don't see that word internet like the way I see that word internet, right? I see it as the internetwork, which is what that net stands for, internetwork, right? But where is that internetwork, if I ask? There isn't one. There is a way to connect to all the networks. So there is a connection, so you got a, you got an ISP, internet service provider, you get a connection from them that lets you go to any website. It's an empty expanse of cyberspace. There is no real internetwork as such, there is just the open, space. There is no, super highway that connects to everything and, blah, blah, blah. So there is no infrastructure around the notion of the word internet. It's just the open protocol that anyone can build on using, HTTP networks, you can say, right? But those HTTP networks don't talk to each other. Right? That
we have discussed. They behave like separate worlds. They have their own things going on, and they do not communicate with each other.
So they're not interoperable. They don't communicate to each other, and so on. And so when we talk about the internet and we say, "Hey, we're going to connect everybody back together," people are like, "Wait, we're already connected," and then you're like, "Oh yeah, but they don't talk to each other." It's like that doesn't compute for a lot of people. How can that happen? And are you saying that's just way too much of a leap?
Yeah. No.
So,
but has anybody had a sort of an aha moment while talking to you that now like somebody like sort of connected the dots and like came out on the other side? Okay, yeah, this is how it can also be viewed.
There have absolutely been some mind-blowing cases of the awakening in life, that I have witnessed, where like we used to do some early days, recordings, and we used to do a lot of like, pitches and recordings and demos. And some of those are fun to watch. I mean, there was this one guy who just like could not stop, like, just like, I think he said, "Oh my God," like 25 times in that, 30-minute call. Right? Because he was just like, or even in the span of like 15 minutes. Because every 20 seconds, 30 seconds, the guy was like, "Oh my God, that's going to be crazy." So he couldn't believe it, right? Because suddenly it's like, shit, can I make money like that? That's crazy. That's So, but you got to like really pay attention for a minute, and, and calm down. I know everybody is running, at 5-second attention span and that blah, blah, blah. And, everybody talks about, you got to have a crisp and clear message. And it's all good advice, of course, right? But it's all in the doing, there's no like advice from analysts. I don't really care about advice from analysts. People who are doing it in the trenches have done it, roll up their sleeves. They can appreciate what it is. The rest, oh, you should have this. It's like reading a book. It's like, useless, most books, so.
Amazing.
For me, it's all about action and really being in the, trenches and just building,
Yeah, that's true. Awesome.
Yeah.
I think, like this has been, and we have started building things in public now. Everything is out there. Even the book is also written and it's like being written in public. So hopefully, let's say when we meet 6 months down the line, we will have more people having those aha moments and connecting all the dots and, and just realizing what it is and what can be.
Exactly. So, that's kind of what I started to talk obviously with a few people, and, it's always, we have an internal team and a bunch of people that I'd love to show this to, et cetera, back in the day. And then, then I began to basically write on the internet about things, and for the most part, it seemed really vague to people. If you see the first like few articles today, I think you could
Mm.
connect the dots now because you have shop type and you
Mm.
can see it, and there's other things that you can
Mm.
see. And so when
Mm.
you read the old articles, there's a lot of
Mm.
issues we talk about, like politics and, economics and jobs and what is an economy and like all that stuff, which seems
Mm.
really, really vague if you don't have any software and don't know what the hell you're talking about. Now, if you read those articles, you'll find that it
Mm.
makes a lot of sense because
Yeah.
ultimately, when we talk about creating 100 million jobs,
Mm.
that's how is that going to happen, right? And what is that
Mm.
real? And that sounds crazy. And then you got to like take a breath and just say, okay, let me keep an open mind for 5 minutes and see if
Yeah.
there's anything here, right?
Mm.
And so
Yeah.
most people don't have the capacity to do that, right? Because they already know everything. There was one guy, okay, I'll tell you, there was this one guy, this is the only time it's ever happened to me in life where I jump on a call with somebody new and within 5 minutes, they just like hang up on me, okay? Like on a Zoom call. They're just like,
Okay.
oh, this is
Okay.
stupid or whatever. And he just like hung up. It's just like, because I started off with a hyperbolic, statement that the internet is broken. And they're like, the internet's not broken. And I'm like, well, I know that it's not broken. Starting to get into it. And the guy's just like freaking out. It's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy. And it's just like, dude, just calm down.
Shit.
Right? So, and then he just like hung up, right? And it's just like, and the guy runs an internet fund. Okay, a little internet fund that's
Wow.
like, an Amazon thing and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, wow, you are stupid. It's bad out there. Trust me, you can see the results, right? Most people aren't returning better than S&P, right? The index funds. So, these people who are running funds and running like, running money managers, like, very, very limited, reality functioning in their minds. Just extremely mimetic, just copy paste. Just, oh, this is what it is. No deep, no depth on anything. Simply just bouncing around from, meme to meme in life. That's what most people do. No clue about what's going on. Really. They're not awake.
Yeah.
They came to be woke.
Yeah.
Again, copy paste. Oh yeah, it's the thing to be claiming, right? The reason why I called it the woke VC is because it's a joke. It's not a real thing. We want to redefine this word woke, right? It doesn't mean what most people think it means. Certainly not what the right thinks it means. But more than that, it's not what the left thinks it means either. So we are firmly in the middle, right? We are firmly in the middle, politically, from a capitalism standpoint, a socialism standpoint, people, companies, rights, duties. We stand in the middle. Middle ground. We stand in the center.
Yeah.
We're very normal. There's no need to be extreme about anything. Extreme anything or anything at all, frankly, is limited mind.
That's true.
Limitation of mind. So that's kind of what it is. Good. So you just got to, like, when people say, this topic, this chapter was called Trust a Select Few with Your Idea and listen to their advice. This was also what, in Ben's book, Mark Benioff's book, Benioff's book. He of course talks about that and things like that. In my opinion, these days you can, of course, you have advisors, but you should just talk to everybody. Just put it on the internet. Right, and it's open to conversation,
open to interpretation. Yeah, exactly.
It's an art. I don't care to really discuss it as such. Because unless you're able to go below the shallow, perception that you might form, and really, engage at a level that is relevant and meaningful. But it's cool to have it out there and let people kind of start, getting a sense of what is going on, and and if they do get engaged, which we've found so many people who have over the last 3 years gotten engaged, these people are the ones that are your true champions. So we're talking about 100 true champions, 100 true champions, rather than, not even rather than, you can have 1,000 true fans, right? And you can monetize through that as a creator, but as a company builder, you can have 100 champions and build a very large company.
Yes, that's true.
because each
That's true.
champion, builds out a piece of your company essentially, or a piece of
Yeah.
their company, and it's value co-creation. If you start to think
Mm.
about how the internet works, it works like a community. Everybody's connected, right? So if you start thinking in terms of everybody, then there is nothing complicated about it.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Amit. Thanks so much. I think we'll keep on discussing, and as the book also is also being written along the discussions, we'll continue. Thanks so much.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, for sure. Cheers.